People always ask, oh, how can I find the one? How will I know if she or he is right for me? Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Why did you say ladies first? That's sexist.
Okay, gentlemen and ladies.
Who says the man?
Shut up, everyone. I'm trying to give advice. If you want to know if he or she is the one, it's simple. Just find someone who you as well as umpires baseball teams. Let's go to Tampa. Very early in the year, Angels get the win. Rob Drake getting player of the game. Rob Drake is an umpire. Bro clutched up and missed 17 calls throughout the game, and just to make sure it seemed even enough, 4 of the missed calls were against the Angels. Someone should tell Drake that 4 missed calls versus 13 missed calls isn't even. I mean, maybe the only way to give the Angels more missed calls would have been to make more than 17 bad calls, but considering this is Drake, asking to go higher than 17 may be a challenge. You had a bunch of outside pitches like this called for strikes against the Rays, and then when the Angels were up, this fastball right in there for Trout was called a ball. That makes a lot of sense. Even the pitches that were similar to the strike calls Angels pitchers were getting weren't getting called for Rays pitchers. Like, okay, this pitch you could argue that was high enough, whatever. But how do you call these for strikes and then look at basically the same thing and don't do the same? If you're going to make bad calls, at least be consistent with it. And by the 8th inning, Christopher Morel had it. This fastball that should have been ball 4 gets called a strike. Mike Trout had this called a ball, but this is a strike for Morel. So Morel gets pissed, and after swinging and missing at the next pitch for strike 3, he slams his bat and Drake immediately ejects him. This was weird because Morel had no argument and he acted like Thanos at the end of Endgame, like he knew it was coming and just accepted his fate. But why eject him? Like, it wasn't that obvious of an ejection. He just slammed his bat. He could have been doing that out of frustration for missing the pitch. He didn't even say anything to Drake. Just really weird. The Rays, with 13 wrong calls made against them, went on to lose this game by 1. Now go to Fenway Park. Manny Gonzalez behind the plate. He missed 14 calls.
You could hear Bo Bichette didn't like that one.
12 of them going against the Blue Jays. I mean, these Red Sox pitchers were able to throw the baseball anywhere they wanted without any worry. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays pitchers had a smaller strike zone to work with than the respect Jake Paul gets in an actual boxing gym. And just like the Rays in that game against the Angels, they too ended up losing this game by a run. That was Walker Buehler finding an umpire that deserves to be on his Christmas card list. This game against the Mets was the opposite, which is also why you can argue pitchers shouldn't get that upset over stuff like this. Really, nobody should, at least if you look at it in a broad sense, because there will be games where calls go majority your way, and then games where it's the other way around, or games where the calls are shitty for both sides. But it all evens out. At least that's how it is with human umpires, and that won't ever not be the case until it's fully robotic. But anyway, Walker throws a pitch right in the zone for a strike, except it's called a ball because the catcher Carlos Narvaez was practically standing up as the pitch was coming in to try and throw Francisco Lindor out at second base. And because this pitch is called a ball, Walker gets pissed, but this is where Mike Estabrook, the home plate umpire, effed up beyond just his bad call. He started making the situation worse and escalating it. You don't do that. Any person in position of authority looking for a reason to rile someone up, you're a scumbag. Using their position of authority to do something like that, I mean, my next assumption will be that you own a truck and can't please a woman. Nobody goes to baseball games for umpires. If Walker Buehler says something mean, you warn him, and the situation would have been over. But because you started walking out challenging him, you know what comes after that. Having the emotion of a high school girl is not the move. And there's also not enough accountability either, which is something Javier Baez spoke about recently. So he's up to the plate, works a full count. Now remember, Javier Baez, at least for most of his career, has been a guy who'd swing at a pitch if it was thrown into the stands. He doesn't know what plate discipline is, but he's working on it, hence partly why he's been actually good this year, again, for the first time in a long time. And he works a full count. Giants pitcher Hayden Birdsong, he knows Baez's tendencies. The whole league does. Everyone has scouting reports on everyone. So Birdsong throws a curveball low and outside the zone, knowing Baez will probably swing at it. Baez doesn't swing at it, though, which is part of him improving, laying off those low and away breaking pitches, yet it's called for strike 3. So you can only imagine how frustrating that is for Baez. He executes and still gets screwed. I mean, if Javier Baez is telling you misjudged a pitch and he's right, you know it's bad. And he wasn't even that hostile or anything initially. He was upset, obviously. He started to tell the umpire Phil Cuzzy about his wrong call, and he was walking away as he was ejected from the game, which is when he lost his shit, having to be held back. So it wasn't even the call that he was livid over. Umpires are human beings. They're not perfect, and Baez knows that. He said that after the game. It was the way he was treated that made him so mad. All Baez said was, and I quote, Your mama was a hoe. No, I'm just kidding. All he said was, I'm looking for that pitch. It's not an effing strike. Before Cuzzy told him not to point at the pitch and to basically just walk away. Baez asked, what do you mean walk out? I'm asking you something. And he just threw him out. This is Baez's words, quote, it's not even about the call. It's about how he treated me. I'm not an animal. We can talk. We can argue. And that's it. If you would have told me, okay, I missed it, I would have shut up and gone to the dugout. I know he's not perfect, but don't treat me like that. And yeah, these umpires have way too much power and little accountability. There are times when it happens, like Laz Diaz, seconds after calling this pitch a strike on Christian Campbell, a rookie, tells him he messed up. That's good, but it doesn't seem to happen enough. And what makes this all even more ironic is the next day, it was the other side all pissed off by the home plate umpire, this time Tony Randazzo. Baez got screwed the day before, now it's the Giants getting pissed. Although this pitch was low, it's a ball, but there's, as there always is, there's context. Just before this, Giants catcher Patrick Bailey struck out on this pitch, being called for strike 3. Clearly not a strike, and when coming out moments later to go behind the plate, he spoke to Randazzo about it. And as a catcher, sometimes you bite the bullet on stuff like this because it means you can get those calls your way too for your pitcher. But then Webb doesn't get the call here, and Bob Melvin is pissed. He goes out there, tells Randazzo how much he loves him, and walks off. A recent game between the Nationals and Mariners, J.P. Crawford gets called out on this fastball off the zone and acts like an imam after seeing two men kiss. Just full on loses it. He goes right up in the umpire Andy Fletcher's face to tell him how much he blows. This would be the perfect time to use the word crash out, but thanks to everybody, that word has been criminally overused, so I won't be. But yeah, nobody likes this guy. One inning later, the Mariners get a blatant bad call go their way. Now, he calls all these balls strikes earlier, including the one at JP, but this is called a ball. Make it make sense, please, for one time. And if one team isn't getting screwed, the other team is.
His career 1 for 4 with a double. Andy Fletcher's getting defensive because he knows he's wrong.
Now over to Anaheim, where the Angels are down just 1 run, but it's the 9th inning with 2 outs. A runner is on first base. Logan O'Hoppy's at the plate. 2 strikes on him. He lays off this slider to work the count full. Great way to keep the bat alive. Way to keep the game oh, never mind. I'll tell you someone who ain't playing around, and that's Don Kelly, the new manager of the Pirates, who became their manager because their former manager was fired because of how bad they were. And I mean, you're managing the Pirates. You're probably going to be pissed off like most of the time. But he's already so fired up. Just his second game managing, he got ejected. He's been ejected 3 times, and the 3rd time was more than warranted for him to be that upset. The Pirates are down 1. It's the 8th inning, but they have the bases loaded. Padres are walking a tightrope here. Bases loaded, full count. It takes just 1 ball, and the game is tied, and that 1 ball is thrown. A low inside fastball for ball 4, only for it to be called strike 3. So out comes Don Kelly to go crazy, although what's ironic, I guess you can say, about this situation is as new as Don Kelly is as a manager, the home plate umpire here, Edwin Jimenez, was actually just called up from the minor leagues. So he's like new to this, at least at the big league level. Both these guys right here are new to this. Kelly goes back into the clubhouse. Pirates pitcher Mitch Keller screaming at the umpire. Again, yes, these guys are humans, and you do have to look at Edwin Jimenez as a human just being called up from the minor leagues, immediately getting put in such a crucial situation in a game. But at the same time, the Pirates can't just take that. I mean, this call quite literally ruined their chances of winning this game. Yes, the Pirates suck and didn't do anything the rest of this game offensively anyway, but the game should have been tied if this pitch was called correctly. I mean, if it was right over the zone for strike 3, it still sucks, but you at least accept it. Like, if you're Henry Davis, yeah, I looked at strike 3 go by, inning over, we're done. But when you lay off a tough pitch and get screwed over, that means your fate was decided by a third party, which is when it becomes awful. And once the game ended an inning later with the Pirates losing 3-2, Andrew McCutchen was pissed. He starts chiming in, so did the hitting coach, just continuing to go after the umpiring crew. Just in general, this was Andy Fletcher they were yelling at here, the same umpire who intervened when Don Kelly was giving it to Jimenez. And then Carlos Correa went berserk in Seattle in a situation I've never seen. It's like umpires are being trained to test the limits of how far they can take things before people snap. It's a human experiment constantly being done in real time. 2 first-time things in the history of baseball basically happened. Carlos Correa got ejected for the first time in his career, which when it happened, I immediately knew it felt off. So when the announcer said that's his first career ejection, I was like, okay, there you go. He got ejected from the on-deck circle. The only other time I remember this happening is Adrian Beltre years ago during an at-bat, during a teammate's at-bat. He purposely moved the on-deck circle to what pissed the umpire off. This time it was in the middle of Brooks Lee's at-bat. So the first two pitches of this at-bat were in the same exact spot. First one a slider, second a splitter, both borderline pitches called for strikes at the bottom of the zone. The count is 0-2, and I guess Correa started saying stuff. He said enough to get ejected, obviously, but considering it was the first time in his freaking career, I doubt it was anything that bad. Correa gets tossed, he's pissed. Twins manager Rocco Baldelli storms out. He gets tossed. This turned into a shit show fast. Funny thing is, all that happens just for Lee to hit the next pitch for a single. Robo-umps can't come quick enough. Or maybe not. Maybe this is all good because it adds drama. I don't know. Join the Discord server in the pinned comment below to connect with other fans. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.